Welcome back. This is a rare video episode of our podcast number 63 on the J2cast prepping. And as you can see, we're joined here by the angry American, Mr. Chris Weatherman, who's out. We're celebrating his number 8 book in the Going Home series.
9. You did it.
9. I did it again. God, you can't trust me as far as you can throw me.
At least we have video.
Good thing you're not relied on to get facts straight in like legal proceedings or anything.
Well, his equipment's responsible.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's true. All right.
And well, Chris, why don't you give us the name of the book just to make sure I don't assign it the wrong one? I believe I have it pulled up on my screen here, but I'll leave this up to you.
Yeah, the new one's Conflicted Home. So I was having a hard time titling that book until I realized why, and then that title popped into my head, and it was perfect. So that is the new one.
And just because I know the next question always is, no, the next one's not ready yet.
Negative. No, it's not.
I've noticed on Facebook that you know more and put them out, and they're like, all right, when's the next one?
Oh, yeah, like the same day. They're wanting to know, when's the next one coming,
So exactly when was this one released?
That's a good question. Let me look at the date here. I'll tell you. December 19th.
Okay.
December 19th it came out.
Wow, I thought I got around to reading it fast. Apparently, I drugged my feet a little bit because I just finished it a week ago.
Yeah.
So
on the 20th, everyone was asking when the next one was coming out?
Pretty much, yeah. Yes, they were.
Well, you have some ideas in this new book. I don't want to give any plot points away because I don't know where people are in the series. I don't know if they're in book 6, book 5, or not started yet. So we don't want to give anything away like that. But you do have some ideas that I found interesting, and after reading them in the book, I looked them up online to get some more ideas about them. And I really, really found the window cooler, the air cooler, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could just real quickly kind of give us an overview of what this window cooler entails.
Well, I discovered it trolling some actual like third world site stuff for the way people are doing things, and a guy in India came up with this idea. And so you take 2-liter bottles and you cut them in half and you place them in like a sheet of plywood, or in the book I used the lenses from fluorescent lights so you'd still be able to get light through it. You cut them in half, you put the neck of the bottle through whatever plywood or the lens in this case, and you cut it to fit a window. And so what happens is when there's a breeze blowing, that air goes into the bottles, it gets compressed through the neck, and upon expanding on the exit, it cools. So it can actually drop the interior temperature of a dwelling to 10 degrees. That's what they're finding in India, that by doing this to their doors and windows, they can bring the internal temps down 10 degrees. So I thought that was a pretty neat idea, especially living down here in Florida in the summertime. Not having air conditioning would be brutal. And it was just, when I came across it, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta incorporate that.
Now, one thing I was thinking while reading about it in the book, because like you say, the book takes in place in Florida, and we don't have, I don't think, quite the population here that you do. But my question I immediately thought while reading it is, will this work in conjunction with a screen? Can you keep the window screen in there? Or because I know down there, when I've been to Florida, there's been a couple times that you can't turn the mosquitoes away with a crucifix unless it's really big. You got to hit them right with it.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could. It may cut down on the amount of air you get. But yeah, you're not going to want to pull your screens out down here in the summertime.
And that's what I was kind of wondering while reading it, if that was just since I'm not a Floridian, if that was just a given that no way in hell are we pulling the screens out.
Yeah, we're not pulling the screens out. I mean, I grew up down here without air conditioning for a lot of years when I was a kid, and you had to have screens on the windows because otherwise the house would be full of mosquitoes.
Mm-hmm.
And the old cracker version way of getting mosquitoes out of the house when you didn't have, what just happened? Sorry, my speaker just died. Hang on.
Oh.
Samsung Galaxy S, LAPTOP, Disconnected. Connected to Samsung Galaxy S7 JSLAPTOP.
Okay, sorry. The Bose just decided to turn itself off. But the old school version of getting mosquitoes out of your house in the summer in Florida was you kept a kerosene torch handy, and you would light the torch and just walk through the house, and the smoke would run the mosquitoes.
Oh, okay. So you weren't chasing individual mosquitoes then? Okay.
No, you would just smoke them out. But think about that soot and everything building up in your house, and having to smell that. But that was how. I mean, I've got personal accounts of people doing it. So I know that's how they did it.
Kind of like the spiritualist going through your house with the sage smudge. Demon be gone.
Yeah. Well, you're trying to run off the demon that is the Florida mosquito. So.
Now, is there really every once of these I've seen have had quite a few on there? I mean, is it the type of thing that either go big or go home? 4 or 5 of these aren't going to work. You're going to need a good size one to do any good.
Yeah, because you're already restricting your airflow. Let's just say you put 32 of these things on there. They're only like 3/4 inch diameter in the neck, I believe. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's all the airflow you're going to get. So yeah, you want to cover as many openings as you can with them to get the maximum amount of airflow possible.
In your exposure to those, in your research, did they typically just keep them on the north side of a structure, or were they north and east sides?
It depends on prevailing winds more than that. You want wherever your breeze is coming from, that's really where you want it. Okay. You would think, you don't want a southern exposure because you're going to be getting hot air, but it depends on what your prevailing breezes are. That would dictate mostly where you put them.
Well, I think once we get the workshop up and running this spring, this must be something we try out.
Yeah,
it's an interesting concept. It really is. It's just like storing tomatoes in wood ash. It was an African farmer that discovered that one.
I noticed that was brought up in your book, and I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah.
What kind of shelf life do you get doing that?
He was getting months out of them. I'm going to be I'll be burning next weekend, and I'm going to shovel a bunch of ash into a 5-gallon bucket and layer some tomatoes in, and I'm going to see how long they'll go. But I know they're using it widespread in Africa.
There's a huge difference between hardwood and softwood ashes.
Yeah, I'm going to use hardwood ash. I got a bunch of oak to burn.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, that's another one. Really, it wasn't. You mentioned it in the book, but it wasn't covered like the window thing. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't think to ask it until you brought it up. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah, it's legit. It works. There was an African farmer that, he was trying to find ways to preserve his crop because everybody's crops coming at the same time. So all of a sudden you get a crush on the market, prices fall through the floor, and he kept trying to find ways to make more money. And he experimented with everything. He tried this with everything in the world. And then one day he tried wood ash, and he found that it kept him viable for months. Mm-hmm. And so he would wait till the season was over and then bring his produce out, and he'd be able to sell it for 10 times what it was going for at the peak of season. So,
well, the wood ash isn't going to allow a whole lot of flow of oxygen, and it will basically evacuate. It'll disperse the carbon dioxide that's produced by the tomatoes themselves. So it'll work as a filter for the carbon dioxide and barrier for the oxygen. So I can see the logic behind that.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually conduct that experiment here pretty soon myself. So
awesome.
That's a good one. Now, of course, we'll have to wait to use our own tomatoes. We got to wait a while. We are far out of the growing season here.
Yeah. Yeah, we finally got
just a bit.
Call yesterday.
Yeah. I think today was the first day I went outside and didn't wonder why I lived here. Mm-hmm. I think.
Well, today was a warm day. It's 57 now. It was up in the 60s today, so it's been a little chilly down here for a while, but I enjoy it. So
it was above freezing. We were almost dancing in the streets.
Above freezing, yeah. For you guys, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did have a friend that just came back from Iowa. It was negative 40 there, and I said, "That's why I don't live in Iowa."
Absolutely.
That's just one of the many reasons not to live in Iowa.
You'd be perfectly at home in Iowa, Jeff. I mean, there's no land features or anything. You'd appreciate it.
I do. Like you get up around Waterloo. Allanders are like Smiths, so and they're the nice Allanders. They're not my branch of Allender.
Oh. Hence the reason why I don't live in southern Oklahoma.
So it's but yeah, it's I'll be glad when winter's over. Let's just say that. But we definitely like that. And then also you went on, and it's funny that just read your book, and one of the people I work with today mentioned his wife bought him a thing to start making his own wine, which led into, in the book, you have some need for vinegar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, same basic principle. The distilled vinegar that everybody thinks about that we use today is 90% of that is actually petroleum derived. It is not a natural product,
right?
And we use the snot out of it. So natural vinegars are an entirely different animal. They're not clear and look like that. They're going to be colored and scented and whatnot, depending on the fruit you use, the sugars and the whole 9 yards. So, but yeah, I'm actually doing a vinegar experiment here too. So, it's such a versatile resource to have. I was like, let's explore the possibilities. And I found several ways of making just pure natural vinegar. But I want to get some made, and then I want to see if I can distill it. I don't know if I can do that or not.
Well, let's see how good my memory is here. I just finished reading the book last week, but in there you have the characters they go into the kitchen to make this, and they're talking about you need something to ferment.
Yeah.
You need all this, and then one of them, did he mention was something about mother?
Yes. Yeah, the vinegar of the mother of the vinegar. Yeah, you don't need it per se, but it will speed the process up. So I had him use a little Bragg's vinegar, which contains the mother, and so that basically is like priming the pump. It just gets things started a lot faster.
It also makes sure that you're maintaining a similar culture from one batch to the next. And whether you're making wine or making vinegar, I had about 3 gallons of some blackberry vinegar made up. And then my kids were playing around in the kitchen and broke a 75-year-old water jug and all 3 gallons of my vinegar.
Oh,
that was an aromatic accident.
Yeah. Well, that was also the end of that particular yo-yo.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I have a buddy across the street. Actually, the guy that Danny's based on lives across the street from me. And he made muscadine wine a couple years ago that he just left aging until it turned to vinegar.
Yep.
And it's a nice pink, pretty vinegar, So it's not too hard to do. It's actually really easy to do if you're trying not to do it. Like if you're trying to make wine, you can make vinegar in a heartbeat.
I'll be honest. I was trying to make 3 gallons of blackberry wine.
I had a feeling. Yeah.
Yep. And and I just kind of overshot the mark a little bit.
Yeah. So he's got like a 5-gallon carboy over there full of pretty pink vinegar.
Now I have a cousin who recently got into making wine, so I guess this is becoming more and more I guess it's the follow up to a few years ago. Everybody was canning. And now maybe that's the follow-up, is everyone got tired of canning and decided to drink.
It's a lot more fun. I tell you what, it is a lot more fun because keeping your pickles crisp without using artificial additives is difficult when you're making canning homemade pickles. But you can make some real good wine relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Well, I can see why you get tired of the canning. I grew up, my mom canned. We always had a large garden, large enough we used a tractor to till it. Of course, we had a lot of flat land to do it with. But in Kansas,
good soil though.
Yeah, good soil. But anyways, I remember that just hating that time of year because we did not have air conditioner. We were raised that we had no air conditioner because that was for old and sick people. And I remember
which is why they all moved to Florida.
Exactly. And you'd walk into the kitchen and it would just be oppressively, muggy and hot and everything else as she worked that old pressure cooker on the stove. And I can tell you, out of all the things I miss growing up, that 2 weeks is not part of it.
I don't know. I kind of miss it. When we had the pressure cookers and the hot bathers going on the old wood-fired stove in the house. I mean, granted, every door and window in the place was open, but my favorite was the jellies because you're getting preserves and jellies and stuff together. There's a lot of things that don't go into the preserves and jellies that are really good on toast.
You just muted yourself.
Did I?
Oh, you're back now.
Okay.
I heard a click, and then you guys went away.
Oh, I may have tripped something. I dropped my thumb drive.
Oh, okay. I don't know. You're back now, though.
Yeah.
Oh, but I loved it. I mean, it was hot as crap, but I got to go outside a lot because I had to go keep getting wood for the stove. And
I said you got to go out. My mother would come in and say,
I'm trying to kill this phone. Hang on.
I thought maybe you had the ham radio out.
Okay. It's dead.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, I thought maybe you had your ham radio out.
No, it's on, but I do have it turned down because someone's wanting to pop up on a repeater here in a little while, I think.
Yeah. I need to hurry up and get, speaking of the ham radios, I talked to quite a few people at that prepper show about it. I need to hurry up and get my general license so I can do some HF. I'm mostly on the 2 meter and 70 centimeter around here. I need to get on there and do some big boy stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of voodoo involved in that crap. I mean, everything's just got to be right, so HF's a little trickier.
Got to get that antenna tuned. You got to sacrifice a chicken. You got to,
yeah, that smudge you were talking about earlier. You got to walk to the house with that. Well, my dipole, half of it came down. I just got to put it back up. It's no big deal, but I've got a 2 meter antenna mounted at the top of that thing too, so that way I can at least talk local.
What kind of rig are you using there?
In the house, I've got a Yaesu 857D. So, and then I got, what are those things? Astron power supply and an MFJ tuner. Other assorted accoutrements around here. In the truck, I run a Hytera.
I've got a Yaesu handheld, and I got more bow fangs than I can shake a stick at. I've been looking at what to get an HF rig. My buddy in Oregon has a beautiful Kenwood, but he paid more for it than I've bought. I've bought quite a few cars less than he bought that Kenwood for.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, the 857 is a compromise, because it'll do everything. But it's not a stellar HF radio. It's not bad, but it's not a stellar HF radio. It's really good on the 2 meter stuff, 70 centimeter, do all that fine. But it's a compromise. It's one unit that'll talk to everybody.
I am looking at doing my general, and then I've decided if I can ever find the time every day to be quiet for 15 minutes, I'm going to start working on my code so I can try doing some CW on the HF areas. And so if you ever come across somebody doing CW and spelling badly, it's probably me.
I wouldn't know if you're spelling badly or not. So I don't remember the code. I used to know the code. I do not know the code anymore, and I don't think I'm going to tackle that particular project again. So,
well, I really like it for austere situations, since you get so far on so little power with working with CW. That's my main thing, and I just like the ability to do a quarter watt and be able to reach each coast. Yeah,
it'll go a long way.
So it's that, and I keep having people preach this PSK 32 and all that, and I'm just not.
I've got the equipment here to do it. I've even got a laptop that I'll dedicate to it. I just need to get it all set up. It's just one of the many things on my to-do list.
Okay, for any of our viewers and listeners out there that are like me, somebody please, PSK 32.
This is like a chat program for ham radio.
Okay.
And you put it up, and it looks like the Matrix is going across your screen. And each little cascade of stuff is a conversation that you can reach in and take part of.
Okay. You do know all that data that was on the Matrix was Chinese food recipes, right?
Yeah. This is real stuff.
Japanese food recipes.
Yeah.
Japanese food recipes.
It really was.
It really was.
They needed something to turn into digital to make it happen, and so they did.
The guy's wife, whenever they were dating, he was looking at one of her cookbooks and saw how it was all written in there, and so it was his girlfriend's or wife's cookbook basically running across the screen.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
So there. Now, you've had a couple books out with, and I'm going to get this wrong because I'm getting so much wrong today. My head ain't working right. You've had some Michael
Hoff.
G. Michael Hoff. Thank you. Are you going now? Because like Charlie's Requiem, I got it during one of the specials and things like that. How many of those books are there now? There's
3 Charlie's books now. But that's with a guy named Walt Browning. That's not with Jeff. The only book I did with Jeff was Hope.
I am flaking out awful tonight. I apologize. Sorry. Go ahead.
You're giving him an opportunity to give us the correct information. That's what you're. That's what.
Yeah. So Walt Browning and I did the Charlie stuff, and I did Hope with G. Michael Hoff, and but I don't think we'll be doing another one. He didn't want to continue it. I thought we should have, but So it's up to him whether or not he wants to roll with it.
Yeah. Everyone has their own little way to go, so that's all right. And then, of course, I mentioned we get around to this. You've got a new venture you started up a couple months ago, I think, with Survival Dispatch.
Yeah, I'm working with Survival Dispatch to do. It's a preparedness website, and it's covering every topic that we can lay our hands to. And the guys at Survival Dispatch are bringing in a lot of really good subject matter experts to cover stuff. Like we just added a guy, Nick, who's doing our comms, who is phenomenal. The guy's he's a genius when it comes to communications. You think we made your head hurt, Jesse? Nick, he can just he'll just shut you down. I mean, you'll just overload and you're done. But extremely intelligent guys, and we're trying to bring all these people in to just be subject matter experts, provide the highest quality information we can. And there's a pay side to it. If you subscribe to the site, it gives you access to all kinds of videos. You get a monthly PDF that can be 30, 40, 50 pages long. That you can print off and store. We're toying with the idea of actually physically printing them. We did one. It came out really, really good. And just trying to work on the whole aspect of community, getting people involved and doing stuff together and learning together. Learning from each other's mistakes is a big part of it. So none of us are always correct. We all goof up. And so if we can learn from their mistakes, they can learn from ours, and we all save time and money that way.
Now, do you find that's how are you finding it? We find that in our listeners, we've got listeners all over, and most of them I only find out are listeners offhandedly. They I don't know if they're worried about OPSEC. I don't know if they're worried about sounding silly. I don't know what, but I had another one the other day. Happened to mention, oh yeah, by the way, we'll listen to your podcast, and then let it go. But we never hear from them.
Yeah. Feedback is a difficult thing for us to acquire.
Well, I guess maybe it is to the folks that think they're hiding, and that's always been a curious issue to me. Or worried about OPSEC. I mean, there's a time and a place for it for sure, but you can't hide everything, and you miss out a lot by trying too hard to hide everything. You miss making connections with people that you may not realize have the same viewpoint you do, believe the same thing you do, or doing the same thing you're doing, because neither one of you are talking about it. So, obviously I don't have that much OPSEC anymore. Everybody knows who the hell I am, but I'm also not trying to hide,
Right.
Well, that's really my theory. I figure, if anyone has any doubt of what, I think or anything else, it's too late. They already know, but I don't advertise my backup location. I don't do things like that. I keep some things, but the fact that I am who I am is there. You're not gonna,
So, and you meet a lot of folks that think the same way you do. You meet some extreme versions of folks too, but at least you know that ahead of time where their head's at. So it's I enjoy the networking side of things, talking with people, helping people connect with one another. It adds a whole nother dimension to your preparations,
Oh,
because no one guy, no one family's an island. You can't do this alone. You need other people. So it really helps influence that dynamic.
If nothing else, just being able to kind of sound ideas off one another, and also, not to make it sound too soft, but occasionally we all want to know that we're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of people out there that think they're alone, and even though the prepping things, it's kind of, well, it picked up in 2008, big time, and it's seen a little bit of a die off, for lack of a better word. Once Trump was elected, everybody thought the world was saved and we're all safe now. That is admittedly not the case, folks. So you should really keep working at things.
Things are different, but
yes, they're different.
Well, they all but already elected Oprah last night. So if you guys, I don't know if you guys heard about that, but there's been such a push today for Oprah to be president now that I'm sure that
I'm working on my Jamaican citizenship.
Here in no time, we're all going to just forget about this because Oprah will be in charge.
Yes, because
and that can't. Well, hey, I guess it'll be like from her show, and you get a new car, and you get a new car, and you get a new car,
And you get to pay the sales tax, and you get to pay the sales tax, and you get to pay the sales tax.
Yeah.
Oh, crap, forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, we do have a precedent for a billionaire TV star to win. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, which was a huge arguing point from a particular side of the aisle, but they completely forget about that argument when it comes their turn to bring up a talking head.
I'm not sure. I just know that I think there's always going to be turmoil in the world, no matter who's president, and there may or may not be sand involved in it.
You can't please everybody.
No, and I quit trying. So
yeah, I think you could say sand and a country that begins with the letter I.
Yeah,
is somehow going to
and with the word ran.
Well, or I was saying, it's all the same area. They're all fighting over something. Yeah. It's although I do check out on HBO the other night. I started watching the series Gunpowder about the Catholics trying to kill King James, and I found that interesting. Two different flavors of really the same religion going at it like that, and we're just kind of redoing that again down there. You've got Sunnis and Shias, and everything's a mess because of it. So maybe one of these days they'll grow out of it.
Yeah, I think everybody just there's too many people looking to justify their own hatred through some sort of ancient text.
Well, organized religion is the greatest cause of death in history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would not argue with that. I do argue though that in most terms anymore though, the term organized religion, anyone who says organized religion has never attended one of my churches.
Well, no, I'm talking about the classical or the classical religious platforms,
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
well,
yeah.
Judaism, Catholicism, Islam. You go back to the original classics and look at how much blood has been spilled in the name of those few, and that's
the key thing is in the name. It's the justification for people to do what it is they want to do.
Yes,
and depending on which one or ones are right. I imagine there's some people who have an answer for some really dumb things they've done.
But we don't have to worry about it because Oprah is going to give everybody exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So we'll be good.
I thought Obama was supposed to do that. That didn't happen. I mean, I didn't get what I wanted. I don't know what you guys.
Oh no! Of course it did. He was a saint, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just checking. I thought maybe I was the only one that missed out. I didn't know.
No, I didn't get nothing from him.
Okay.
It's sad to say that after all this time, the only thing I've gotten was if I asked Santa for one thing, it was to get rid of the tax for not having the Obamacare they wanted you to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they got rid of that. I was happy. That was my wish.
Yeah, you're referring to the Unaffordable Health Care Act.
Yes, yes.
My premiums are set to go up to $2,500 a month in January, which I dropped that and moved on. And I don't think what I found I like. I'm probably gonna have to change again. But
Well, in the past, before that, I always carried a huge, a policy for when just things went awful, cancer, heart attack, something like that, and then I paid the rest out of pocket as I went,
Right.
and it worked pretty well. Then they passed Obamacare, and I still had a policy that basically only took effect when things got really bad, but I got to pay a lot more for it.
Right.
That was the difference between Obamacare and not Obamacare for myself.
Yeah.
I was saved a little bit from that myself due to VA healthcare, and which a service member has two opportunities to give their life for their country: once on the field of combat and once in the hospital.
Absolutely.
And then my wife works for a benefits company, so they're the ones that actually get insurance policies for other companies, so they're pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
So that's why he does, things that, will probably kill him in the end because he's covered.
Yeah.
Skydiving, mountain rappelling,
Smoking.
Smoking.
Drink a little liquor every now and again.
Yeah. We all do that.
Oh, see, and that's it. I was going to try to make this flow easier tonight, I was going to bring a new bottle of scotch that I had. But being that I've already spent most of the day not quite steady, I figured it probably wasn't the best.
It may be a good one to skip tonight.
Well, we still need to do the J2cast after dark shows, where we can, where we don't keep things as family friendly. We can just let it fly.
Oh boy, I do want to do. Speaking of that, though, and I've talked to Chris about it before, and this is one reason we're trying this particular setup out tonight, because it branches out very easily, and I'd still like to do the once a month, totally separate thing of bring in, say, Chris and other people who have ideas and beliefs and things like that, and do kind of a roundtable type thing once a month. Be the type of thing where I myself might throw a little nugget out there and then just watch the others take care of it, because people like Chris spend a lot more time contemplating it than I do.
I spend a lot of time contemplating.
I'll hang around for commentary.
Well, that's really your job now, is to contemplate, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, would you consider yourself a full-time writer now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm inside of Survival Dispatch. I'm writing a kind of a prequel of sorts for Sarge, the character Sarge. And what I did with it is I just went back to day one for him. But in it he flashes back to how him and Mike and Ted and the guys got together, and it does a little bit of flashing back to his past. But it covers what he was doing up until Morgan and everybody shows up.
Which, by the way, I do know there's a few people out there that are still in book 4, and I'm not judging you if you're on book 4.
Yeah.
But I am going to tease you in the newest book. There's changes for Sarge.
Yeah.
You get to see him have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
So
you get to see a side of him you wouldn't expect, that's for sure.
Right, yeah. So I'm going to just put that tease out there that if you're still sitting on book 4, maybe book 5, you need to kick it into gear, because like I said, you just get to see, and it comes out of the blue. You're going to see him have some fun.
Yeah. So
definitely get with it if you haven't gotten that far in the books yet.
Absolutely.
And it seems to be a growing field. I mean, you're to keep up the audience you're keeping up, you must be doing something right, because every time I turn around, somebody's got a new book out.
Yeah, so many. I got into this. I got kind of lucky. I got into it in the really kind of like the beginning. I mean, Patriots is out, and there was a few other. 1 second after was out, but there wasn't really, but nowhere near the volume there is now. Mm-hmm. And it's like everybody and his brothers throwing their hat in the ring, and I got no complaint against that. Oh. Everybody, hell, give it a shot, because that's what I did. But yeah, everybody now is wanting to write them, and there's different reasons. Some people are getting into this because it's a really popular genre at the moment, and a lot of people just want to be that famous author. All right, well, more power to you. Some people are getting into it because, for the same reason I did initially, was I was just kind of wargaming a what if. What would I do if? That's how I started writing mine. And other people are, they live this life and they're just wanting to try to tell their story. So there's a combination of reasons. The ones that bug me are the ones that are just trying to go after numbers and notoriety. I'm not that guy. I don't track my book. I don't even know where the book's listed. Let me see where it's on Amazon. I don't even know where my book's listed on Amazon. I don't follow it. I publish it and I'll look at it the first day or two and then I let it go. And that's not what I'm about. I just want to tell a good story people want to read.
Well, apparently your stories are,
and so that's my goal.
Apparently your stories are good enough for the actor Michael
There
Rooker.
it is. Let's see. Got 100 reviews already. Not too bad. I didn't even know that. So
yeah, he was mentioning that
paperback. Yeah, 1,000. Not too bad.
You've got a fan in Yondu now.
Rated at what? 518. Not too bad. So so it's rated at number 518 overall on Amazon. Out of every book on Amazon, it's the 518th.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, the actor. Michael,
so that's pretty good. And 100 reviews. That's real good.
Can he hear us?
I don't know.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Hold on. I'm off again.
Stand by. We're
tonight.
Technical difficulties.
Yep. I thought he was just on a roll.
It wouldn't be a video without him.
Yeah, I thought he was on a roll. I thought he was just really into what he was saying. So, but we'll give him. I'm just glad it's not on our side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think I'm back.
Testing 1 2.
I'm back. I'm awake.
Yeah. Well,
turning yourself off.
Well, we were mentioning that you've now got a
celebrity fan
in the stellar celebrity fan is in Michael Rooker.
Oh yeah. I'm hopefully going to be meeting with him soon. Hopefully, I would love to sit down and talk with him.
I would like to sit down and talk with him too. I wouldn't pick a fight with the guy.
He's an extremely capable individual.
Yeah. He definitely looks as if he can hold his own. So I would not do that.
Yeah, I got tied up with him through a mutual friend of ours that Rooker was talking to and mentioned something to my buddy, and my buddy promptly called me up, and now we're kind of working together a little bit.
Well, and we don't want to sell him short either. I'm a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and my wife's a big fan of the Walking Dead, of which he's been a major part of as well.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Well, if you get a chance to do a walk-on Guardians, you'll definitely win some points in my family. So.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I'm obviously wanting to turn this into a TV series. It's something I've been working on for a long time. But
I sent you my info there, so when you're ready to do some production, I sent you my info on.
I have no problems with about 5 seconds of screen time before I die.
Oh, mine was for behind the camera. I sent him my Internet Movie Database stuff and all that.
Yeah.
So
I have no such IMDb claim, but
award winning. Yeah, we won an award. We won like 4 awards for that movie.
The Raspberry Award?
No, literal.
Raspberry Award, Rotten Tomato Award.
If you really want to have fun, you can watch our movie. You can watch the credits and listen to the director take credit for my ideas.
Oh, there you go.
That's
yeah. You can hear.
Well, I'm thinking about trying to do like a crowdfunding deal to get the money up to do the pilot myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that's in the works right now, trying to get that structure put together to make that happen.
Super Troopers too.
It did, and that's the model I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So the same kind of different levels, and you'll get some different stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
I've seen it.
Because if I do it myself, then I own it. I don't have to worry about somebody else screwing it up or trying to interpret it or anything like that. Because I want the folks who have loved reading the story to be able to see the same story on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Which is hard. I mean, it is hard. Doing it as a movie is difficult. Doing it as a TV series is a lot easier.
TV series is what I'm going for, though.
Yeah, because as a movie, you're fitting. You've only got a finite amount of space to fit what
Sometimes you have to imply backstories
or converge characters, take many characters and put them down into one, that type of thing. So it's a chore.
It worked for Michael Bay in the last Transformers.
But if you especially if you do paywall web series and things like that you can do, or even better, sell it to somebody like Netflix and get paid in advance.
Well, that's what I'm hoping would happen. We're going to shoot this when we start it, it'll be shot to Netflix specs, which their specs are, tight, as far as even equipment, you got to use these cameras, you got to use these microphones, so we're going to try to shoot it to their spec. I've got some people involved that know that end of things. That's not what I do. So it's just getting the money up to get the ball rolling and then try to find the right people to play the parts. So we'll see.
Trying to think here. I just I know with Netflix. Well, I won't get into all that. I know, and they do. And the reason they have those specs makes a lot of different, lots of sense, because they want the same quality for all the stuff they put out. So it makes sense, and but I think it's where the future's at. Watching it when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it.
Oh, absolutely. All the old traditional forms of media are going the way of the dinosaur. So, I mean, it only makes sense that this is coming along. Well, and right now Verizon's trying to launch their platform to compete with Netflix. They realize they've missed the boat. They were late on that. I'll be talking with some of their people here sort of soon. And Walmart is as well. Right now, Walmart is buying up content faster than anybody is.
Well, Walmart's doing their own. Verizon, Apple wants to start their own content creation.
Yeah.
So it's out there. The problem is, for those of us who are the consumers, eventually we're going to have to start saying no to some of them.
Right.
It's that's the part that drags me down.
And two, even for content creators. So now you've got Walmart and Netflix, or Walmart and Verizon and Apple all wanting to jump in the boat. Who's going to be the first guy to go with them? He's not going to be the guy that makes a fortune.
No.
I don't want to be the first one with Verizon, truly, because there's, they don't have a platform yet. They don't have a following yet. Their distribution's not there yet. Netflix and Amazon Video, they're the gorillas in the room, and, you might be able to get what looks like a better deal through Amazon or Apple, but in the end, is it going to be? These other guys are years ahead, years and years ahead of everybody else. So,
I mean, Netflix is on everything. I mean, you buy a Blu-ray player, it's built into Dish TV. It's just
my Blu-ray player has a red Netflix button.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's on Xbox. It's on everything. Right. I mean, it's everywhere.
So now Apple finally took the leap and included Amazon on their Apple TV here about 6 months ago, maybe.
Really?
So Amazon's catching up slowly, but Netflix they were already running the race before the others got their shoes on.
Right.
Oh yeah. So, yeah.
That was that.
So that's who I would like Netflix to pick it up, just because they do the serial thing so well now.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I hate about Netflix, Amazon, all the rest of them, this is the one thing I hate, is they need to make you wait. Binge watching is my weak thing. So I'll get in there and I'll watch an entire, like my wife and I watched all the Santa Clarita Diet. And then you're left with like a year or more before the next one comes out. So
oh, wow.
You mean what they need to do is they need to release one episode a week on, say, a Wednesday night about 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Broadcast TV?
Yeah, well, they need to. Well, I'll tell you who I like the way to do it. And people, I don't care what you have to say out there. The new Star Trek series, that way, where once a week they release a new one, and it keeps those people that exist amongst us, like myself, who have no self-control when it comes to this kind of thing, from just taking a weekend, starting Friday night, and then we end up Sunday unwashed, unfed. Yeah, because we've done. The series I did it with, that I I used it up too quick was I watched reruns of the old show Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched like all 3 seasons in a span of 2 weeks. And you want to talk about Odin, it was a great, I don't know about the rest of you. I loved it. And I had not seen it. I didn't catch it was on TV. So once I started watching it, it's got the prepper kind of thing with it. It's that type of story. And I just dove right into it, spent some time, and now there's nothing.
Yeah, I did that with The Punisher on Netflix over the holidays. I sat down and I couldn't sleep one night, so I stayed up and watched 5 episodes, and then spent the rest of the next day finishing it.
Yeah, which is great, except now you don't have any more till they get around to making them.
You see, where I'm fortunate is I just like to binge watch the same 20 seasons or 19 seasons of Mythbusters over and over and over again.
Yeah.
See, my weakness, and that is, and I can watch it, in a week, and that is Firefly. I can just watch Firefly over and over, and then I take a special to watch Serenity, and
Firefly.
See, for me, it's Mythbusters. I always love looking what's going on in the background. I love looking at their different building techniques. And, I love, helping, looking at...
Wow, you're looking at different things than I am, because on Firefly, I'm looking at Katie, and I'm looking at the chick that...
And then in season 1, when Carrie Byron isn't part of the build team, she's just a graphic designer that works there, and she's so awkward and adorable, and she's just so darn cute. And then in the later seasons, she gets a little grumpier. She has that child, and she's just she kind of turns into a bit of a grouch.
Grouch.
That's the most. It's the coarsest thing I'm going to say on the show. On the show.
So, well, I hope that goes through for you. I really do. I hope it's soon. And I hope that when you're big and famous and driving your Maserati, that's been converted to biodiesel, of course.
No, my when I make it rich car is a Pterodine Gurkha, so armored truck.
Okay, but that has a diesel engine, so that will run on diesel.
Yes,
biodiesel.
Yes,
that's what would make the Maserati so impressive. If you had a Maserati that ran on biodiesel,
I don't think there's ever been a Maserati with a diesel engine.
That's why I say that's what would make it so impressive.
Hydrogen conversion, so the dang thing runs on water.
I'll just go get a Tesla and tear all that garbage out of it and drop a Cummins under the hood.
Did you just mess with the Tesla?
Just be a Tesla just bilging black smoke and a red light.
I accused my wife the other day of having a side job that I did not know of programming for Tesla. And she's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, because my buddy has a Tesla, and it'll do that drive itself thing unless you're on a bridge or passing a semi. And then it goes, hey, no, you got to do this."
Okay.
My wife hates going over bridges and passing semis.
It does the same thing my mom used to do to my dad. Yeah, we go through that 3/4 mile long tunnel down in Arkansas, and she puts her hands over her face. My dad tells her how to work the gas, and he's driving the steering wheel from the passenger side.
Oh my goodness!
I'm in the back like taking a bath.
Yeah, my wife doesn't like the semis either. She's not a fan of that. I don't blink, but she gets all twitchy and nervous.
Now, one thing that we'll be interested is if we were to have a CME or an EMP, is exactly what the Teslas will do, because everything on this one of my friends, everything is electric. I mean, getting in the car, you have to walk up to it, and it pushes. Electric motors push the handle out to you.
Oh.
So you cannot even use the handle without electricity.
Well, that's a lot of crap to go wrong.
So
is it though? I mean, that thing just a troubleshooting maintenance nightmare.
I would absolutely imagine.
Well, he is a big supporter of the show, so I'm going to say I really like it. Well, I like it anyhow.
I love the ideas of them, but I guess that's the trappings of growing up a farm boy making do. Is you wanted something that if something broke on it, it was something that you could repair at home.
We're getting farther and farther away from that every day.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this guy, I mean, when he goes in for a dime, in for a dollar, because he got the Tesla, he also put an entire solar array up to charge the Tesla
at work.
So he wanted to really make it. I mean, this guy, he's committed. If I can say anything else, the dude is committed to electric. And I love that. I mean,
I love a lot of the things about the Tesla. I would just have a backup plan as well.
Yeah, well, he does. He's got a BMW for his backup car. So, and his wife has a few vehicles too. So, he's. Hey, I'm sorry, Roger. I know you're listening, and I'm going to defend you to the very end. So
I love the idea of Tesla. I just don't think there's anything wrong with having a Volkswagen in the barn somewhere,
or Dodge or diesel pickup truck.
Yeah.
Well, as long as I guess that's the thing.
Something with a standard transmission that you could push start if need be.
I don't know, and I don't want to start a contest here or a debate on between you and someone else. Have you read any of the books by Dee Gideon that start out with Journey?
No.
Basically, in it, she puts forth that there's been a CME, and it's hit the grid, but small electronics and cars are left pretty much unaffected. Now, of course, the cars are running out of gas because the grid's down, so you can't. You're not pumping gas the normal way.
That's why you do a hydrogen conversion now.
So, but I just found that interesting that, this is one of those things that we haven't, since the Carrington effect, we haven't had one to that magnitude where we really know everything it's going to do.
Right.
No, the only other event that we have any kind of tangible results from was Starfish Prime when it took out the ice grid. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, there's not been hasn't been a CME of that magnitude since Carrington, and so there's a lot of unknowns. But speaking to some government related folks on EMP and whatnot, a lot of your cars are going to survive. Mm-hmm. They say they may initially shut down, but if you wait 15, 20 minutes, they're going to start back up.
Well, I've even read a report that said some of them may need, and the one thing I love, because being a computer tech, I get to say this to people all the time, you disconnect the battery, you wait, and you reconnect it. You basically reboot the car's computer.
Turn it off, turn it back on.
So possibly. Now, I know you guys both drive Fords. My Chevy so much runs through the entertainment system, including the blinkers and things like that, that if the entertainment system's not working, they don't work.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. Especially the, different little odds and ends, because I looked at upgrading my stereo in it and to a touchscreen, and the guy said, well, you're going to have to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I said, well, what do I do if I don't? He goes, well, you got to buy this $2,500 stereo for everything to work as it does now. And I didn't want to do that.
Wow.
So I find that I know you talk to people all the time. I know people find you out, and you seem to kind of have your finger on the pulse of things. I know you were making news broadcasts about Iran before the news was making news broadcasts about Iran.
Yeah, I follow a number of intelligence Twitter feeds, and those guys are usually pretty spot on. And so I started catching wind of the protests that were happening in Iran, and now the obvious responses to them. So I'm curious to see how it's going to develop. It's gone on longer in a lower intensity than I anticipated going. I thought it would have got a lot hotter than it has so far. But it's a classic color revolution fomented by the CIA and the Mossad. There's no doubt about who's behind it. So you look at any of the recent Arab Springs, Ukraine, any of them, they're all the exact same thing. It's just dropped into a new location, and they managed to get it to take off. So
they find the dry grass that's ready to be lit, and let it take itself from there.
Well, it all started because people there were mad over economic issues. That's what the whole thing started about. It was pricing of foodstuffs and fuel, things like that, electricity. They were all complaining about those things getting more and more and more expensive. And that was the impetus what started the protests. They were just about prices. And then you can see that obviously somebody that understands that sort of thing moved in, redirected it, and, managed to grow it. So it went within 2 days. It was, no longer them complaining about the price of eggs. It was down with the dictator, standard stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
It is. And especially, my kids, even my older kids, this doesn't register with them. They have no idea about it. And for me, I remember when I remember hearing about the Shah being overthrown when I was little.
Yeah.
So
74, wasn't it?
Yeah. So for me, the repercussions of that, up including the hostages at the end of Carter's administration, the beginning of the Reagan administration. So to me, this is all very, very interesting, and I'm wanting to see what happens. I think there's a lot of people younger than myself out there who this means nothing to. They don't understand at all what they're looking at.
Now, and to anyone younger too, they just lump Iran into more Arabs. They don't understand that they're Persians. They're not even Arabs. They're Persians. They're an entirely different people. And you look at what Iran was prior to the revolution in 74, what it is today. So now you've got, multiple generations of people that don't remember the Iran of before, but the world moves so fast now that they kind of want that sort of life, not knowing that it used to be there,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, like I said, to see how it plays out. It's the more you try to repress any group of people, the more they're going to resist, and maybe this is their time to try to throw a monkey wrench in the works over there.
Like I was mentioning earlier about going through the old newspapers and photographs with my mother today, I was pulling up American military and British newspapers. Did we disconnect? I think we disconnected.
No.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. When I was looking through all these old newspapers, and there were American civilian, American military, and British civilian newspapers in there talking, and it was the real time. What are we going to do with Hitler?
Yeah.
And these were 1944 newspapers, that 1944 and to 46 that I was reading through today. That were talking about outside of Hitler. They were talking about the riots in Egypt, and one of the headlines I thought was absolutely hilarious to me was Venezuela says no to the Reds. Venezuela conquering, overcoming, and rejecting outright communism, which led to Venezuela to be able to grow to be one of the most resource-rich environments on the planet.
Yep.
And then they were like, "Hey, let's give communism a try." And
that's like I was watching some show the other day, and a commercial came on for this thing, Intervention, and it was this girl talking about how she grew up in a family of addicts, and she just wanted to see what it was all about, so she tried heroin just to see what they were all into. That's the same sort of thing, my life is so great and everything's moving along so swimmingly. Let's try communism because I think it'll be better.
Well, there's a lot of that right here. I mean, you look at Facebook and Instagram accounts of people in their early 20s anymore, and there's a lot of that there. There's a lot of people. There's one in particular that they made a meme out of, the Jigglypuff girl. Yeah. That her one of her personal profiles said, "I am totally First Amendment until I'm offended by it."
Yes.
And these are the same people that are also putting the tags, capitalism will fail. And communism, they're all pro-communist. And a lot of the reason they're like this, and these are not poor people that are doing this. These are, kids that can go to college and be, not work 40 hours a week while they're at college and everything else, that are pushing this because, like you say, they're sitting around going, well, These other countries haven't. Why don't we give it a shot?
Well, there's a whole thing, too. I caught this article the other day where the proponent of this was referring to communism as volunteerism. And how everybody will be taken care of because everybody's going to volunteer to do their part. Since we all share in everything, you're going to be rewarded for volunteering.
And what happens when you don't volunteer?
There's the catch.
It's no longer voluntary.
Well, now isn't capitalism volunteerism as well? You can.
Yeah. I just had this discussion with my wife last night. Yeah.
You can participate or not participate. It's up to you. Only difference is capitalism doesn't reward the lack of participation, whereas in theory, communism does. And that's why they all want it. But you all want it because you're not forced to do anything. So who's going to do anything? Who's going to do the stuff? Because you don't want to do anything.
It removes incentive, and it also removes the need for consent.
And it stifles creativity, and everything else. It's just
all basic human motivating factors are removed.
Yes.
I believe that there ought to be a thing. Of course, I'll never run Facebook and I'll never run any of these because they'll never let somebody let me do that. But I think the default should be, if you put your socialist or your pro-communist, the next one should be down is, now tell us what your degree is in. Because I just have a feeling there's not a lot of engineers doing that. These are all women's studies, liberal arts,
gender studies.
Yeah. People that want the world to conform to them. I remember when I was in college.
My master's degree in interpretive dance means I know what I'm saying.
Interpretive dance.
I remember a guy in college that was pushing socialism and communism. Of course, he called it socialism. It was actually communism, but he had it all laid out. He said, we'll all be happy because we'll all have the same thing. We'll all have the same houses, the same cars, the same this. And because of that, because we're all have the same thing, we'll all be happy.
Communism looks good on paper as long as you don't consider humans being involved.
Mm-hmm. A communistic robot society would be great.
For the robots.
Yeah, for the robots.
But humans are a different creature. The communism does not take into effect human nature, at least not on the lower levels. It does take into effect human nature at the upper levels where greed kicks in and the elitists are able to control and oppress and take actions against you without your consent.
Which I would like as a book idea. Now, I'm not going to write it. I tried to write a book and it didn't go where I wanted it to go and I threw it away. It wasn't working out. Yeah, it wasn't working out like I wanted. But what I would like is somebody with more ability than me to do a book on the effects of an EMP, a CME, something like that, on a group of kids at college, preferably Berkeley, University of Colorado, something like that, as they all try to make things happen by none of them offending each other or expecting anything of each other.
Okay, Jeff, I think, and here's where I think your writing flaw stepped in. What you're talking about is not a book. What you're talking about is a paragraph or a chapter in another book of poor suckers that didn't make it after said event.
Yeah, because they're going to spend the first 90 days sitting around just trying to get consensus.
Well, that's what I think is each chapter could be a different speech by a different person.
Oh, okay.
Is about this, and they'll all eventually starve because all they're doing is sitting and listening to each other.
Yeah. As soon as the vending machines run out, they're screwed.
So
yeah, they'll line up in the darkened cafeteria, with no lights, and they'll form up in the lines and be like, "Where's the food?
Yeah.
The food's supposed to be here. Where's the food?"
Waiting for their new version of mommy to come through and make them a plate.
Yeah, nothing is their fault. Nothing is their responsibility. And and that, like you said, I agree with the First Amendment until it offends me. Yeah. That's just mind-boggling.
But that right there, though, is why I love the First Amendment. I was driving down 7th Street the other day, and there was a truck in front of me. It had a white nationalist sticker right in the middle of it. Down the side, it had an Aryan Nation thing, one of the runes. Over here, it had the Confederate United States flag, not the stars and bars, but the actual Confederate States flag. All this across there, and I sent it to a friend of mine who's more liberal than me, and I said, "This is why I love the First Amendment." As I said, I know I don't want to talk to this guy without ever speaking to him.
Yep.
I said, if you same way on if you've got socialist stuff all over your thing and all that, I know automatically I don't have to wreck my day by actually letting you speak to me.
Yeah, if I see "Feel the Burn" on a bumper sticker, I know don't even park anywhere near you.
Yeah.
And,
When you walk in someplace and somebody's wearing a Che Guevara shirt and a beret, you know that just you can pass that one by.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I want,
unless it's been customized.
I want to have some pins or stickers or just a card to hand out that every time I see somebody in a Che Guevara shirt that they purchased and they're standing like a Starbucks, I just want it to say irony.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with not just an IQ level, because I'm not going to assume everyone's IQ, but you're dealing with a level of self-reflection there that is completely absent in these individuals. I mean, they only see what they want to in the mirror. They got different mirrors than us.
Yeah. Well, just a little sticker that you put on them, and it'd be best if I could put it on them without them knowing it.
I used to have stickers. Who was it for? One of the elections at a gun show, I found this Post-it notepad that had this whole thing on there about, hey, I hate to be the one to have to tell you this, but someone's vandalized your car, and they put I can't remember if it was an Obama sticker. I think it was even earlier than that. It might have been a Clinton sticker on your car, and, just wanted to let you know so you didn't ride around all day looking stupid. I would keep it in my truck, and when I was going through grocery store parking lots, slapping them on drivers' windows, man.
I had seen before this last election, I had seen somebody do that where you could get those like a Post-it note, stack of peel and sticks. That one for you could get a 2-pack, one for Clinton, one for Bernie.
Yeah, that
worked. Well, Chris, I am really appreciative of you making some time for us today. And
anytime, guys, it's always fun.
Yeah, it is. And one of these days, I really want to get down there and see your area some more. I've been to Florida. I need to get back there. Do I assume correctly that we've had a postponement on your February plans, or are you still getting?
No, I'm still aiming for the February thing. We're gonna. I'm gonna be talking to somebody when I'm done with you guys on some points on that. We're gonna try to get that nailed down here pretty soon.
You got it. Are you still open on dates, or are you? Still...
Yeah, we have. That's one of the things we're going to talk about is the dates. Try to get some of the bigger moving pieces in place and get this going. It's just I've got to go to SHOT Show, so that's going to occupy some of my time. But
well, I knew you were going to SHOT. I saw that on Facebook, so I didn't know if that was going to affect your plan.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I've got other guys that are helping me put this together, and they're going to have to do some of the heavy lifting while I'm screwing around. So.
Well,
hey, Chris, can you help clear something up just in case this is the first video somebody sees? What you got going on in February?
Oh, well, we're going to have in February. We're going to have a little get together, kind of a camp out for the weekend. There's going to be training opportunities as far as handgun, carbine, maybe even some long range. There's going to be some competition stuff just for fun. Some silly competitions, some sudden death marksmanship kind of stuff. And there'll be training there for medical stuff, probably some bushcraft kind of things. And we're going to camp on site, hang out, just kind of have a weekend get together for a bunch of like-minded folks.
All right. So something we can just tell folks to keep an eye on your Facebook about?
Yeah, when I get closer to, when I get it nailed down and everything, we start pushing the dates and I'll let everybody know and let you guys know, and we can get the word out there. So,
well, my own calendar is hit and miss in February, so I'm waiting with bated breath to find. It's like the lottery. I'm trying to find out if it's going to be right on top of a job I have to do or not.
Yeah. Like I said before we started, I may have something time consuming coming up between tomorrow and the next month or two. And so my hands are a little full with some of that. So that's it.
But we'll definitely pass the word along. I want to go. I really do. And it's things like this that make me wish I had a job that I could not show up for. and still keep my house and my car and my things like that.
Yeah.
Write a book.
Yeah, I was going to say that. like being a writer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I would, but I actually started one and I just didn't like where it was going, so I stopped.
Yeah.
And
you control that, right?
Yeah.
Your world.
Places was going.
No, it just wasn't going places I wanted it. It just wasn't being interesting. I didn't because I worry about recycling things from like Chris and Franklin and things like that.
That's why I don't read no more. Sadly, I don't read anything now.
Yeah, I don't want it to. It's friends. I have a lot of friends who are musicians, and one of the things that they deal with is they'll do a song, and then somebody will go, "Man, that sounded just like blank," and then they'll do it again. Oh my God, I was totally influenced by that. Didn't even realize it until it was pointed out to me.
Yeah,
and
I had a friend night before last was showing me this new song from this new hip steampunk band that he likes to listen to, and I said, that song's just completely ripping off Johnny Cash's Ghost Riders in the Sky, right? And he didn't think from memory didn't think that the songs were anything alike. And he started listening to it, and I had him break the song down, and it was
you buzzkill.
Yeah, I do that.
It can happen to you. You got to be careful. It can definitely happen to you.
So, but anyhow, we'll definitely keep an ear out for that, and tell the wife we appreciate her letting us steal you away.
She's off at Lowe's spending money on something or another.
Good for her.
I'm perpetually doing. She's got this list now that she keeps talking. I've never seen the list, but apparently it's like the Dead Sea Scrolls. It just goes in perpetuity. I don't know. So,
okay. But you haven't seen it, but it does directly affect you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like the tax code. I've never seen it, but I damn sure pay for it.
Oh, and one other thing I did want to say was I'm sorry to hear about the squirrels.
Oh yeah, that was sad. That was really sad. Clyde the squirrel was her buddy. That was her. I mean, they were tight. He didn't have nothing for me though. Didn't like me at all. We still do have one. His name's Ranger, and he's the friendliest I think we've ever had of any of them.
Really?
Anybody can interact with him. He's just friendly, playful. Typical squirrel though. He goes 900 miles an hour all the time. Whereas Clyde wasn't that way. Clyde was very laid back and slow and Mel. Now, if he was loose and saw me, he could be fast as hell. But Ranger, he's a good substitute for her for now. He's very friendly and they get along pretty good. So
do you think that Clyde could tell that you like how squirrel tastes, or?
Well, I told him many, many a time that he didn't understand who he was messing with, and I didn't have a problem putting him in a pot of gravy.
Yeah, yeah. There's just, at least you didn't name it fricassee or something like that.
No, I'll just put him in some gravy. I don't have a problem with it. But I was sad to see him go because Mel had a real connection with that weird little rat. So
I used to have a pig named Kielbasa.
Yeah.
Well, on that, I will take up the last minute to let you all take proper time to admire my beard.
I didn't want to say anything.
Yes,
you can. If we get enough light on there, you can kind of see that at least in person, I don't have to turn my head to see it.
It's taken 5 weeks to get to this point.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Oh my God.
So I don't, and it was purely by accident. I just, over Christmas break, I just didn't bother. And I went into one of the offices I work with. One of the girls go, "Wow, this is your first time with facial hair, isn't it?" I said, "What?" Oh my God. Yeah. I guess I'll just keep going. Of course, the wife doesn't like it, so I don't know how long it'll go.
This is absolutely fascinating to me because, after literally 5 days, I just before this got through shaving off a lot more than that.
I shaved yesterday.
Chris
dapper.
Chris shaved yesterday and went out and lifted something heavy. It was like the old Play-Doh thing where
I was trying to go longer. I was trying to be a little bit more like Chris, but I'm too much like my dad. See, Chris, you got this whole stovepipe thing that grows. I have this horribly curly hair that would have just been this Brillo mane. So I just keep it trimmed and dapper and drive my.
Well, it looks smart. It's nice. It looks good. Yeah.
Well, the wife,
Jeff, you need to go shave.
the wife, she says, so when are you shaving that? And I said, so I don't know, when am I shaving it? She goes, it's your hair. I said, no, you informed me the last time I shaved my head that it's not my hair. I said, so you just.
Well, this all started because it was No Shave November, not this past one, maybe the one before that. I don't remember. And Mel's like, it's No Shave November. You gonna stop shaving? And I'm like, yeah. And I just never started again.
Well, that's because, but you've got the fountain of youth there because I've seen a picture of you without a beard and you looked about 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you literally can drop you could rob somebody with that beard, shave, and nobody would pick you out of a lineup.
Yeah, probably. It does. I guess it does age you a little bit. Yeah. I feel as old as I look.
See, I don't feel as old as I look.
But you don't have any gray in that thing that may someday become a beard.
Yeah, no, I don't. I
got this.
Gray doesn't happen in my family very.
I've got a little gray too.
Yeah,
just a bit.
Just a little there.
I had an aunt die.
Your mustache is red.
She passed away at 94 and just had a few gray hairs at 94.
Wow.
My
and her own teeth.
My great grandmother was 114. And great grandmother, and she didn't have any gray hair. She smoked a pipe, and every day had biscuits and gravy. Of course, she was a little darker than your shirt.
Oh,
and full-blood Choctaw.
Hey, real quick, one thing. This is the last thing. When's you got another book you're working on taking place out west?
Yeah.
Do we have any kind of outlook on that, or is that still just a in process type?
In process.
Okay, so no date.
Here's the plan. Actually, I want to get that one done. I'm going to write the sequel to Cry Havoc as well.
Okay.
Then we're going to see book 10. So book 10's out of the way.
Okay, so good. On Cry Havoc, we get to find out what happens in Texas then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one's coming up, and then hopefully this spinoff called Western Resolve as well. So those are the next two on deck.
Okay, great.
All right.
Well, great. Well, once again, I'm going to get off here because I've got family waiting for me.
All right.
So, and he's starting it back up. So I'm going to just waste a little bit until I'm sure he can hear me.
Now I can.
Okay.
I don't know what is. It's a Bose, man. But it keeps turning itself off.
She's tired. She's tired.
It's going to find itself on the range tomorrow.
Oh, and me up here.
I've got the same speaker, and I've never had it.
Mel has one. Well, this thing, I bought it was great, and then one day it wouldn't turn on. Like for a month wouldn't turn on. And then one day it did turn on and worked great. Now it's doing this crap.
See, this is just setting up for somebody to say I dated a woman like that one time.
Oh,
but
yeah.
So,
well, it's going to find. We're going to get to see what some 230 grain Full Metal Jacket 45 rounds will do to it here pretty quick. I think.
See, I was thinking
go Hollow Point.
I was thinking 308 win, but that'll work too.
Well, Mel has a fondness suddenly for the Mossberg 930 semi-auto 12 gauge, so I might let her see if she goes.
There you go. There you go.
Well, nice and devastating.
Well, for those of you who are listening, like I said, get up on the Going Home series. And also I want to push my activities on the side that if you find the Going Home books in a bookstore, make sure that you put them out so the full cover of at least one of them is catching people's eyes. I'll redo an entire book section while I'm just because I don't care. I don't know who any of those other people are, so I'll cover their books up.
That's right.
Take a couple copies over to the current events section.
Yeah.
Well, I've got this. When I used to book bands, we had the band Warrant in one time, and the drummer went back into this is back when we still had record stores, and he went back and took every Warrant CD out of the shelf in the back and put them over the current event, the new releases.
Oh, jeez.
Totally reshelved the entire thing.
With all worn CDs.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good play. I like that.
So definitely do that, and keep an eye out on Chris's Facebook page and on let me get this right, survivaldispatch.com.
That is it. Yep.
Check him out there, and definitely, as always, you can get a hold of us, Jeff at J2cast.com, Jesse at J2cast.com. Our phone number here is 417-553-3716. We look forward to hearing from you, and for now, you all take care of yourselves.
See you guys later.
Be safe. God bless.